I don't know. That's a good question. Obviously, like, follow, subscribe, and do all those socially things that we always do.
All the social stuff.
News-wise, I actually just got brought to my attention not long ago, and we actually don't have a laptop share set up, so I can't show it on the screen. But our friends over at Switchboard Live just posted on their Facebook page not long ago. They are running a promo right now. I'm going to read this out. Shout out to our awesome partners at Epiphan Video for collaborating with us on today's daily deal. That means daily, meaning today.
They're doing 12 days.
Today only, when you purchase a Webcaster X2, you'll get 1 free month of Switchboard Cloud. Head over to their URL. You'll have to check this out on their Facebook page, which is facebook.com/switchboardlive. Purchase a Webcaster, then come back, use this link, promo code, blah, 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 and you will get a month free of Switchboard Live. For those of you who maybe missed previous episodes, Switchboard Live integrates with the Webcaster X2 and allows you to do multi-streaming to multiple platforms at the same time.
Totally.
This is very cool.
And it's not just the regular offering from them. They're actually offering the Switchboard Pro.
Right, which you could do a lot of platforms off that. So
Cool.
That's a great deal. Anyone who's been curious about Switchboard, I would definitely recommend it. Go check that out. Things that are free are always the best price, so that's always awesome.
You can't beat zero.
So check them out. That would be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we're watching chat because this episode is going to hopefully involve a lot of chat. What is today's episode? I think this is episode 90?
It is episode 90, and we're doing a two-part kind of episode. So we're going to start with talking about some of the folks that support us behind the scenes here in the Ottawa office, a little about what we do every week, how we come up with our ideas, and at the end of the show, we're going to do a AMA.
AMA, is that a Reddit thing?
I think it's the Alberta Motor Association.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Or Ask Me Anything.
Yes.
So instead of doing it in a written form where...
Which is normally
we have
on
to
Reddit,
relive
and
our
Ask Me
answers.
Anything,
Yeah.
Reddit-wise would be text. We're doing it through chat.
Totally.
So please jump on chat and ask us anything. I can see some questions coming in already. Stefan saying hi. Hey, Stefan. And Alan saying, where's that cabin? Well, this is my house, obviously.
Yeah. This is a live feed from George's chalet.
Yeah.
It's a ski-out chalet.
Yeah, I wish.
So obviously we couldn't do the show from there, so we just have a live camera set up in that spot.
I really wish.
It's not a copyrighted background.
Elijah,
so okay.
hello. So, diving into behind the scenes, we have a number of people back there already kind of checking out that. So a lot of people ask how we do this show. So we wanted to do, although we've talked about it in various components in different episodes, lighting, audio, cameras, but kind of broken up. We wanted to do much more of a behind the scenes sort of thing and show what people do to make this show work.
Totally. And there's a lot of folks out there that do everything themselves. So this, I have one person in the show, he does the switching, he does the audio, he does the lighting, and we're very fortunate. We actually have a big team that supports us. We have a lot of folks that come in and collaborate. The Palo Alto team down in California, they also do their own live shows every once in a while, and they do everything, obviously, themselves. So let's start out with introducing some folks behind the scenes.
Sure.
So standing by,
remote,
we've got...
live via satellite.
There they are. So we've got Lisa and Matt, and sorry, I think I cut over a little bit too early.
Oh, that's okay.
Fine. We'll make this work.
So Lisa and Matt, why don't you introduce yourselves and let the world know what you do? Oh, and there's George.
Oh, cutting through the shot. Very professional, George.
He has to steal the thunder. I'm Lisa, and I do a lot of the switching here at live at Epiphan. I also do some pre-production work, like setting up the vMix social. I also do thumbnails for the show and create the blog post page, which is on our website. So that's kind of the gist of what I do.
And for those of you that already know me from webinars and past live show, my name is Matt. I'm a technical specialist and also the sound guy for Epiphan Video. I handle a lot of what happens at the audio board to make sure microphones are working, to make sure we have our sound. You may or may not be able to see in the background right above. Let's see if I can point that there. Right near Cameron's head there is a microphone that they're using as an overhead typically to get all of their audios for every show.
Sides.
You'll also notice that the sound coming from me is a little bit more clear than what you'll get from anyone back there, and that's because their mic is further away, and we have to try to compensate for that. But that's mainly what I do, but aside from lending my expertise periodically on the show with these fine folks.
And occasionally starring.
Yeah.
And occasionally starring.
And Matt will join us again in future episodes, and Matt is also part of the technical support team here at Epiphan, and they often lend us help in setting up the Pearl and making sure that everything's configured correctly, and any last-minute troubleshooting that we usually bring them literally at the last minute.
Yeah.
before
and
the
as
show starts.
and as you can imagine, you can see from this shot here, they're clearly not in a cabin. George's private cabin, way off in the distance there.
Matt.
Before I pass my part back to the guys, I just want to wish my son Colin a happy 11th birthday tomorrow.
Oh, happy
Shout
birthday,
out.
Colin.
Since when do we do shout-outs on this show? Happy birthday.
But it's a one-time exception, I guess.
No. I'm sure we'll do more.
Let us know if it's your birthday, and we'll also wish you a happy birthday.
Add it to chat.
Now, do we want to get this guy on here too? And
Well, we're going to have to because Marta just commented, who's that creepy guy walking around the set?
Hey, creepy guy over here.
So you might as well pull him in at this point.
As if she doesn't already know.
Hey, George.
Hi, I'm George. I'm on the show often, not all the time. We share the workload around here, which is one of the fun things about our show. We have been trying to get Lisa on the show for years, and this is as far as we've got, so we're really happy about that. But it's a great show because it gets people out talking to customers and learning from you guys how you're using live streaming equipment, and lets everybody understand a little bit more about the ecosystem that we make products for. So it's a win-win for us to be able to do this kind of thing. So
It's a lot of fun.
yeah. So let's throw the camera back on the wonderful cabin.
Sure.
And look at those.
Well, and you can tell from our
Bearded
live shot
guys.
as well, so we have a studio just in the corner of the Epiphan office.
Yeah. So yeah, we're just kind of tucked away in a corner of the office. Just to my right is a big open space where a lot of us sit. We have our desks, our support teams on the far side of that. There's big windows, not just a dungeon like the studio makes it look, although it looks like the beautiful cabin right now.
It is a beautiful
Some
cabin.
people were commenting about the snow outside this cabin. It's not snowing right now in Ottawa, but we have actually had a fair bit unseasonally already. But we wanted to get to some of the things here in chat.
And thank you, Elijah, for wishing Colin a happy birthday as
Yeah.
well.
So Ron Hoffman is saying, looks like Canada. Ron, you are correct. We are in Ottawa, Canada, and yes, that is basically what it looks like outside, other than the snow actually falling. But
Like 9 months of the year. That's exactly what it looks like.
and we all live in igloos. Stefan was just saying, since he noticed I said episode 90, he said, unbelievable show number 100, hopefully is a big giveaway.
Well, I'm saying but I'm just more in just acknowledging that you said a thing.
Good ideas. Things that make you go,
And what would you suggest that we give away on our 100th episode, Colin? No, was it Colin? Who
No,
said
that was Stefan.
That was Stefan.
So Andrew Patton, who I know is in Australia, was saying hi. Hi, Andrew. A few other people. And Stefan, I see your question there. I'm going to save that until we actually get into our AMA section.
Yeah.
So if I forget, please remind me. But that's a good one to bring in at the actual AMA part. So we wanted to talk a little bit more about what it takes to do behind the scenes, how we come up with things.
Totally.
So one of them is how we come up with ideas. This one, in a way, is a bit of an easy one this week because doing behind the scenes, you don't really have to do much work. You just kind of point a camera at things. And,
Totally. That's why we're juicing up with a little bit more of how we actually do the show.
Yeah.
And this is a great tip for anyone that's also creating their own content online, is to take a look at what is driving SEO terms around the industry that you work in or the topic that you want to talk about.
Yeah, so we do a number of things.
And I was just going to say, SEO stands for Search Engine Optimization, if anyone wasn't familiar with
I feel like that's an acronym that's gone beyond the literal, though. It's kind of encompassing a few other pieces now where you look at trends, you look at all. So you're not even necessarily just trying to optimize certain search terms for your own needs. You're just looking at search terms in general to see what's trending. And find out if you should be trying to fit within something or not, and all these other. So there's a lot of sections around that.
And that's what we do with our director of digital marketing. We sit down, we look at what the terms are, what's trending, and often it's not even applicable to our industry, but it's something that we could talk about.
So a number of us have Google alerts for different search terms to see, that we check weekly, daily in some cases to say what's trending in the search term for live streaming, what's, all these other different components. And that helps us to generate, okay, what are people looking at? What are people needing help on? That helps us structure some of the subject matter for the show, which is great. But then it also helps us go, okay, what are the titles of the show? That's a big one. And that's, I think, really where SEO in a traditional sense comes into play. Is that, and that's probably one of the big tips about the behind the scenes is live is great, but repurposing it VOD and getting after views is super important. And that only really works well with good SEO. if people can find it because it's a
Totally.
subject matter they're searching for.
And having not just good SEO, but authentic content.
Yeah.
Right? Because
You don't
before,
want
and
it
I
to
worked...
be clickbait.
Yeah, exactly. I worked in digital before, and we had all of these websites set up in the back end that were designed for search engine optimization. No one would ever go to these websites. We just had all these keywords on there, and it would draw people in, and you'd search for something, and you'd see this result, and it would redirect you to another page. So Google, obviously, being very quick moving, saw this happening, and kind of set up some roadblocks so that you wouldn't just be able to embed all of this content and hide all of this content.
Right.
That you would actually have to have real content on your page. And so, like you said, that's how we write our blog posts. That's how we look at putting information out and making sure that it's authentic. And really, that's what people are looking for.
Yeah.
And if you're going to trick them to bring them in, they're not going to come back again.
No.
And so we position ourselves a way where we have this information available.
You're never going to have channel growth if you're constantly clickbaiting people.
Totally.
And we want to see not just ours, but our customers and everyone else grow. So anything we can do to make that happen is a good thing.
Totally. I just want to mention I only have one Google alert set up, and that's for my own name when it appears on Google.
Nothing vain about that.
Nothing vain about it.
all.
And I
Yeah.
only ever see content from a Cameron Rhodes who lives in New Zealand. He's an actor. He was Farmer Maggot in Lord of the Rings.
Oh, really?
So there's a scene where the wraiths are coming and
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
looking for
I
they're
see.
looking for the Shire and,
Yeah.
and that was his one scene.
one
But
scene.
he has made a huge career just out of that one thing that he did.
Interesting. Well, Lord of the Rings tourism's still pretty big in that
Oh
country.
yeah, it's huge. It's huge. And he's a very popular actor in New Zealand. So
Another place we generate a lot of ideas from is from you guys. Things you say in chat, but even more so what we hear from our customers at trade shows. So as a lot of you know, we often are plugging trade shows we're going to be exhibiting or attending. The next one, for example, will be ISE, Integrated Systems Europe, beginning of February in Amsterdam.
if you want to meet, and are you going to this one?
I believe I am.
So if you want to meet George in person, you want to put your hands physically on George.
Last year I had to sign a few autographs, take a few selfies, but
Nice. Could Stefan make it? Where does Stefan live?
I'm not sure, but we'll see. But
All
if
right,
you
Stefan, let us know if you're going to be making it to
we
ISE
usually have
this year.
promo codes if people are interested in passes and stuff like that. But more to come on that show. But we talk to thousands of customers at these shows, and we hear a lot of things that they are telling us about how they want to use products, what other pieces they're using it with, and it's very different interacting face to face. You just get a much more in-depth conversation going and kind of pick things apart more. Doing things digitally, whether it's through emails or even live chat, it just doesn't have the same sort of thing. So what we hear from our customers, prospective customers and existing customers, our partners, ISE is probably the show where we sit down and have big meetings with all of our worldwide partners, kind of all.
Are there
one
meeting
place.
rooms? Like at
Yeah.
NEB, they have all these little meeting
we have
rooms
our
set
own
up?
meeting room
Okay,
at ISE.
that's
and,
cool.
Our sales guys are nonstop booked in there with our partners.
Yeah.
But it means we can kind of have these forums with our partners so that they can relay what their customers are saying.
And do you know if Mike Sandler is going to be making it this year?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know.
Because that's something, you think so? So Mike Sandler is the CEO of Epiphan. He's the founder and kicked it off back in the 90s.
Yeah.
One of the things that I find really cool about going to NAB is having the opportunity to not just meet salespeople and technical staff, but actually like the founders of some of the companies. Matthews Equipment, the CEO is often there. And the first time I met him, he was very nice, and I had no clue who he was until I looked on the website later, and you see his face in the...
Sorry, Cameron. He'll be at ISC. I don't know about NAB.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No, that's cool. That's cool.
We'll see. It changes. Our staffing changes a little bit. But anyway, so if anybody has the opportunity to join us and visit us at any of these trade shows we'll be attending, we always have them up in the news section of where we're going to be, and we promo it on social media and all that stuff. We would love to see you, and that would be fantastic.
Looks like
and Andrew, I know you're planning on being there, and I'm sure we'll get to spend plenty of time together during that show.
Who is Andrew? Can you
Andrew
let us know that
is
one?
in Australia. He's one of our partners.
Oh, cool. Sweet.
Yeah. So we have a whole bunch of things in here, and again, we're gonna come back to that in AMA. It's what else do we have from behind the scenes perspective? I guess
So it's
physical gear.
Yeah, physical gear. So something we have talked about before is the camera that we use, because oftentimes people ask, wow, that's a great image. What kind of camera are you using? We actually just use a Sony Alpha A6300, which is a great camera on its own. It's a mirrorless camera, and excuse me, we use it often in 4K mode. Today we're actually shooting in 4K, but we're downscaling it just on the Pro to 1080 and then 720 for Facebook. But it's a great little camera, and really kind of proves that if you have good lighting, you know, you can go with a kind of a lower rent camera. Right. You don't need to have a super high-end camera for this kind of studio setup because it is a controlled lighting setup. We have a great lens on there. Sorry, I just noticed it got really dark outside.
Whoa. Don't get it. Whoa. What is going on?
I think the display just went to sleep.
I think you just see if our cabin can wake up. There we go. The cabin's back. Great stuff.
So actually, I could say driving our background today is a MacBook Pro that was on unlimited. Yeah, the PC guy. And we also, the behind-the-scenes camera that we used from that previous angle, so we can...
was our C100.
Yeah, so Lisa, if you want to bounce back to that one for a sec. That's our C100, a Canon C100.
Yeah.
So amazing little camera.
It's much more of a cinema camera than anything else. But like you say, you know, that's a camera that, you know, is maybe a bit overkill for certain situations.
A little bit. And sorry, I'm just laughing because George
came running in,
spotted that the background is changing.
And so, you know, there's a number of options there, but it really depends on your space. For our space, we don't need always a bigger, bulkier camera.
Totally.
The A6300 being a very small Micro Four Thirds style body, even though it's a full frame,
it is a full frame.
You know, gives you that nice compact size, but still gives us excellent image quality. And why would we use that over, say, maybe a DSLR? We've mentioned this in previous episodes. Mirrored cameras are a bad idea for video because the mirrors lift on a timer, usually 20 to 30 minutes, which, you know, that would have happened 2 or 3 times already just setting up for the show.
Totally.
And, you know, they often don't give us the best HDMI outputs. So, you know, anytime you can look at a mirrorless camera or a much more video-oriented camera like a C100, Stefan threw in here and kind of maybe come back to that with AMA, but any experience with the Zoom Q series of cameras? Yes, actually. They're okay.
Is that the Zoom, like
so
the
there's
audio?
a Q2, same company, but they make some cameras that have some nice mics built into them. They have a Q2, which we have one in the office.
Okay, I haven't seen that one.
Somewhere. I'll find it for you.
Cool.
They have a Q4 and a Q8. And they're all kind of various levels. So they're very GoPro-ish style cameras with super good audio on them because it's Zoom.
Of course, yeah.
So
it's a microphone with a camera versus a camera with a microphone.
Right. Yeah. And I'll just kind of cover that one quickly, Stefan. The optics are not going to blow you away on those cameras. They're very average, maybe low average. But
the audio style camera, right?
But very small.
Yeah, very small.
But the audio on them, being Zoom, is great. They have built-in XY mics. They have the Q4 and Q8 have XLR inputs on them. Like they're very cool.
And speaking of audio, we use a Rode mic for our overhead mic.
Our shotgun Rode.
Yeah, so we use a shotgun just above my head. I'm not sure which model it is.
I don't remember.
But it is a great setup. I'd like in the future to have a dual mic. So that we can have one on each of our hosts, just to give a little bit more.
On occasion, when we're not at this desk, we'll use lav mics as well.
Use the lav mics.
We have that in a kit on the shelf. We have occasionally used GoPros for close-ups or product shots.
We had our overhead camera with the GoPro on it, which was great because it's super easy to use, very lightweight.
Yeah.
With that one, it was just as easy as putting it up on a boom.
Right.
Versus if you're building an overhead rig with a larger camera, you need to have legs on either side, have a nice solid bar on the top.
You can use them on a clamp and do all these other kind of things.
Exactly.
Though I would mention for anyone interested, for now, avoid the GoPro Hero 7s if you're wanting to use the HDMI out. It's bad news.
Well, and you made me dig into that a little bit deeper, because it is a great little
camera. That might
camera,
be a whole show
but
itself.
Unfortunately, it's not compatible.
It's got some problems.
Right? Or is it not compatible, or it's just the output?
It's got some funny behavior on HDMI that may not be great when interacting with capture cards, recording equipment, stuff like that.
Now, was this an accident, or have they intentionally
because
done
the
something?
5s, the 6s, they were awesome.
Yeah,
no
we
problem.
don't have any issues with the one that we use in the studio here.
That one's an old 4. We have 5s, we have 6s. They're great. It's only the 7. They did something different, and it's not good. Oh. So, but anyway, that's a whole other piece.
And then, of course, we have a table mixer or a channel mixer
we have
for
the
audio.
Heath is it the
Z14.
Z14, yeah. So it's got a whole bunch of different channels, lots of different settings on it. You probably have seen that star in a few different video clips, you know, things like that. And it's a great mixer because even though we don't use a lot of microphones, anytime we do need to add extra pieces, there's more than enough room on that board to quickly add it in. If we're using like a 4-channel or 2-channel mixer, it'd be very limiting. We have a lot more options with that. So.
And at the end of every episode, when we're done, I just take my hand and I run it over all of the controls.
Just so you have to have Matt come back
Yeah,
and
just so
fix
that Matt
it
has something to do when he comes back.
Yeah.
I think he appreciates
It's a make work project.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, what
do you
else
want to
do we have
answer?
there?
Actually, we had a question from Victor.
Yeah, Victor was saying Lumio. Victor is mentioning the Lumio PTZ camera that Epiphan sells, and you know, we don't use that in our studio, believe it or not. Why don't we use it? Partially because we take down and move these cameras all the time, and PTZ cameras are great at being a fixed position. You kind of put them up once, and that's about it. They're not that great to move around because any PTZ camera that has a lot of movement and stuff, there's a lot of gearing and motors in there, a lot of abuse in moving them around will break them.
Really?
And so they're pretty durable, but
and that's a pan tilt zoom.
Yeah, exactly.
And you'll see them in fixed situations, like in a like a courthouse,
mounted on a wall, mounted on a
lecture
ceiling,
hall,
back of the room. But for us, we take down and put the studio back up all the time. We take it on the road all the time. You know, so we don't use the PTZ camera in here for that reason. There's no reason we couldn't if we never took things down or moved them around, but we do. So, and it's not quite as conducive to that.
Well, and operating that as well, you've got a little joystick and the control
panel. There's a whole bunch of different things you can do, and although most of this set is pretty static and doesn't change, some of it does, and if we were a 100% fixed position, nothing ever changed, absolutely we would just install Lumios where they need to be, and that's it. And we would have, you know, next to Lisa's station there with the audio mixer and everything else, she would have a joystick controller and be able to change those as necessary.
Trying to track us around.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a product that we have in the back room. I can't remember what it's called, but that's the one that shoots at 4K and it uses AI to track faces and move the camera around.
Yeah, there's some interesting stuff around here. Yeah, that we've played with. I mean, as you can imagine, we do get some gear. Unfortunately, we can't buy everything out there. There's just too much stuff. You know, we would have to be selling a lot more Pearl 2s to be able to buy every single camera we would love to play with. But we try to get a good cross-section. We borrow, we rent, you know, as much as we can. Our partners have always been fantastic with loaning us things, you know, to test if we need to for engineering to dig through weird signaling stuff, you know, that kind of thing.
So if you want to use it, get your hands on it before engineering does.
Yes, well, of course. Yeah. Have you seen those guys cut a cake? God. So, you know, there's a lot of things that we try to do. And so there are little toys in our closet and different things that we use that we try and experiment with. So to Stefan's thing earlier, we have that Zoom Q2 that we have purely for testing purposes because a number of our customers were using them with Webcaster X2s. And I think they moved on to other cameras after that because of the limitations of the optics of it.
Gotcha. And
they moved on to cameras like the Panasonic G7 and G85, which are definitely at the top of our list of recommended cameras because they're inexpensive compared to the 6300.
Yeah.
But
even compared to the 6300, which is very affordable.
And they offer fantastic image quality. They're awesome for video, and they have an external mic jack.
G5 is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So Panasonic definitely set the bar there.
Yeah.
Now, moving on. Yeah. So why
do we do the show?
Why?
It's fun, obviously.
Yeah. Well, it gives us something to do. If I didn't have the show to do, I would have a whole half a week free every week.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I could totally... Yeah, no, so there's a number of reasons why we would do the show. I think, you know, part of it started out as us wanting to test ourselves.
Yeah.
We need to better understand what our customers run into, the roadblocks and trials and tribulations they run into.
Walk the walk, right?
Exactly. The best way to do that is to do it ourselves. You know, anytime you want to find your way out of a problem, put yourself in it first and then find your way out.
Well, and I could say every week, we generally run into
but that's because we never keep things the same.
Yeah, that's right, we do. We do mix it up.
We intentionally break ourselves in order to fix it.
And we still haven't figured out last week why we started 15 minutes early.
Yeah.
But that was a great, great learning for us.
Yeah. So there's a bunch of things, but also, in this day and age, live streaming as a company is becoming more and more popular, right? We're, to quote one of my colleagues from a video that we posted not long ago, a democratization of video.
Hey, there you go.
We're not having to rely.
We are seeing the democratization of video.
But it's true.
Yeah.
We no longer have to solely rely on traditional media in order to get a company's message across.
Totally.
We can cut out that middleman and deliver that message to you guys directly in these formats because it's so easy and cost effective to do it now. Absolutely. And everyone knows where to consume it, Facebook and YouTube and so on.
Yeah. And you take away that interpretation,
exactly.
Right? So you can get your messaging directly to
You're
your
not
customers.
hearing my voice in a press release. You're hearing my voice with all of its inflection and annoyance and everything else that comes along with it. But, there is also the fact that in this day and age, in the modern age, humanizing a company is important. You want to make sure that you're putting a face to the company.
Absolutely.
And so Cameron and I are that face at times, weekly.
That handsome bearded face.
Yeah, well, it needs a bit of a trim, I think. But but that's an important part, right? And it doesn't matter who it is in the company that might play that role. It is an important part to play in this day and age.
And it does take us back to one of our first points in talking about how we come up with the topics on our show.
Mm-hmm.
Every time that we do a live show, Lisa prepares a blog post that has that show on it, and we have that content that is now able to, you can find it on Google. So if someone's looking up how do I set up my mobile streaming or how do I set up my studio, then they might see that blog post come up on one of their search results.
Yeah, for sure. All right, at this point, I think it's time to dive into the AMA. There's a few things in here. Some of them already got answered. People were asking about the model of the Rode, and some of our colleagues. This is a great point of how we do the show. Mm-hmm. We have our colleagues sitting at our desks moderating the chat because we can't do this and moderate at the same time.
And I should mention as well, Geraldine is behind the scenes. She does a lot of our social, and so she keeps an eye on the chat. We also have just folks randomly throughout the company. So down in Palo Alto, I think George is on there as well.
Yeah. So someone was asking, if it's a shotgun cardioid mic. Matt answered that from his desk. So there's your answer to that. It's technically a shotgun / super cardioid. Bernie was chiming in on my GoPro 7. That is one of the issues, is that the HDMI output is very delayed when image stabilization is on.
Oh, because it has that internal
3 to 4 second delay. Not millisecond, second delay when stabilization is on. It's terrible. There are other issues beyond that, but that is one of the more annoying ones.
Well, and arguably, though, why would you be in a scenario where you have to have stabilization and do an HDMI out?
Maybe I'm an IRL streamer and I'm using a GoPro.
All right, yeah, fair enough. When you're paragliding through the Swiss Alps.
But even something like Pearl that has audio delay adjustments to resync things can't do 4 seconds.
No? What's the maximum delay on the Pearl?
300 milliseconds.
Oh, okay. That's not even a second.
That's normal.
Yeah.
That's what you would normally expect to be within. Mm-hmm. So people were mentioning there, our colleagues chiming in, it's a Rode NTG4 shotgun mic. So your answer for that. Stefan was saying a colleague is using a Panasonic PTZ camera. It's recording every day in different places, has no problems with them breaking. No, the Panasonics are great. They are good cameras. And definitely there is a mix of different qualities.
Well, Panasonic's a good brand as well.
Absolutely. Colleagues were chiming in there asking what's on people's wish list for testing. Are you asking us that, George? You're right over there.
Does that mean he's going to get us one of those things?
Well, actually, that ties in with Stefan's next question. Inexpensive HDMI switcher with PIP. The one we've recommended in the past is hard to get a hold of sometimes. Obviously that varies geographically. One of the ones I'm wanting to test desperately that some of our customers already report works awesome is the Roland stuff. So the Roland V1 is a 4-input mixer, very traditional broadcast, T-bar, the whole thing.
And it has the pedal too, right? So you can control
There's an option for that.
Cool.
But they have a new one that's a 2-input that's just coming out, less expensive. and it will do all of that pip and switching and stuff, and it's a tiny little one that they're
Does it have
advertising.
scaling as well?
I think so.
Cool.
But that one I'm really interested to test because they pitch it as mounted on the side of your tripod kind of thing. Like, don't even have a console behind. Just do everything mounted, strapped to the side. So that potentially might be an amazing addition as an accessory for something like the Webcaster.
Totally.
So I really want to test one of those.
Well, I think we had a question earlier about having a mount for the Webcasters.
Yeah, so I was trying to find that one, but I think it's now on the second page here.
We were actually watching a live stream yesterday. I'm not sure where he's located, but...
Him modifying his webcast?
Yeah, he was modifying his Webcaster. So we were watching live, and he was broadcasting live from his Webcaster while modifying the same Webcaster.
Yeah, I was trying to get the serial number so I could mark it as void of warranty.
Thanks, George.
No, but that was shared on our, we actually are not the technical owners of it, but there is
the fan page,
there
right?
is a Webcaster X2 Facebook group, and that live stream was posted there and shared there. So, and there's a ton of good information up there.
Well, and that's set up if you have the camera and you've got a battery pack and you have this the switcher as well.
Yeah.
You could really do a lot of cool stuff if you're in
Absolutely.
that mobile streaming, if you're doing it for business or doing it for your own production company.
So I'm going back to the earlier questions because I promised Stefan I would. Your earliest question, Stefan, was, is it worth buying a used Webcaster X1 or better to buy a new or used X2 or win one with the winky face? This is a super easy one. I would not recommend a Webcaster X1, especially if it's a Facebook one. And there's a few reasons for that. The Webcaster X2 is better overall, but the X1, there are no updates coming to that product, unfortunately. Development has ceased on it.
It's no longer supported.
So as Facebook changes their platform, I'm sure most of you are aware, we went through this stuff earlier in the year where they blew up their API and reauthorized everything and changed where you could and couldn't. Webcaster X1, if it can work now, if Facebook makes another change, it might not work tomorrow. So I honestly would not recommend one if you're looking at buying one or the other. There's nothing wrong with it from a hardware perspective, but it's not going to be updated to keep pace with any changes coming to the APIs for these platforms, unfortunately. The X2 will be for however long we're building them.
Totally.
Plus the fact that the old X1, there were two different pieces of hardware, one for Facebook, one for YouTube. X2, you have Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Switchboard Live, Blue Frame, something else, Babyflix, and another one, and a few more coming online. Church Stream, another one's coming online.
There's going to be so many
icons
on that.
And we're adding more platforms to this. So I think, Stefan, in previous shows, you've asked about things like Periscope and Instagram and stuff like that. If those things ever become possible, they would be possible on an X2, but never on an X1. So I'm a firm believer in the tech industry, there's no such thing as future-proofing. But if there was, the X2 would be the one to look at, not an X1.
Well, even just the hardware itself, right? We've got a better processor in the latest model. There's more capacity. So
yeah, exactly. All right, so I'm going to try and get back into here. Which ones did I miss? To clarify again on the Zoom Q cameras, we have the Q2 as I mentioned. It does work well. The Q4, I have a friend who's played with that, and it does also work. The Q8, as far as I can tell, would be exactly the same, just even better audio and slightly better optics. Like I said, the optics is a bit disappointing on it, but they work. I have a friend of mine who's a stand-up comedian who records all of his own sets using a Zoom Q8. And he doesn't even, sometimes he does, but he doesn't have to pull audio from the house board because the microphones built into that camera are so good because there's the XY cross built into it.
Sweet.
So he's able to, not necessarily for production, but just for his own auditing, he's able to easily record because the camera's so small, he can sit it somewhere and record his sets.
Well, and having that stand-up set for posterity so that in the future when someone steals your material, you can go back and show that you actually did it.
It's very important.
And something that we've said before on the show, and we say it around the office, is you can have the best video, the best picture,
audio
but if the audio is terrible,
you're
not reaching anybody with that.
Audio. Stefan's saying audio mixers with USB that can feed the Webcaster. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but in that Facebook group a couple of weeks ago, someone mentioned a mixer that has a USB out they were using and was working with the Webcaster. For the life of me, I can't remember the model, but they do exist.
The Zoom supports.
I
the
played
model
with
number is escaping right now, but it's
Yeah.
the handheld one that supports USB out, so you can connect it as
See,
an
I
external
tried that a
audio
long time
source.
ago and it didn't work.
On a Webcaster?
Yeah.
Okay. Because
So
it works on a computer.
It does.
So it has
but
that UCP, or what's that?
Well, so that's the critical piece. For any USB device to work on a Webcaster, it has to be UVC for video or
Gotcha.
UAC for audio. Some mixers and the Zooms, from what I can tell, are partially UAC. They have both a plug-and-play component and a driver install component. Any of the ones that require a driver install component, like some M audio boxes and stuff like that,
that's not gonna
those
work.
aren't going to work. But Focusrite Scarletts, people have used those. Not necessarily a mixer per se, but a great way to bring in professional audio over USB. So that and some of them are 2 channels, so they're kind of mixer-ish.
Yeah.
So those are a great option.
Well, you could jerry rig something into a 1/4 inch out as
Yeah,
well.
well, exactly. And with the Focusrite, which you can get pretty inexpensively, that'll give you a 1/4 inch or XLR and gain control and stuff like that. So they can be a great tool. Comment here, any plans for a hardware control surface for the Pearl 2? So that's a great question. That we will manufacture ourselves, no, but that is possible, yes. So we are actually on the verge, we're waiting impatiently for news from Crestron that they have finished their control module for the Pearl family of products. This is something that we are expecting hopefully any minute.
And you'll be familiar with Crestron anytime you step into a really high-end boardroom or a presentation space.
So they
it's very
make
slick setups, right?
They
Whole
make
UI,
lots of cool
everything,
controllers,
yeah.
but from the super top end to even some less expensive ones.
Okay.
But they are building a module to help integrate that. I've heard rumor that the UI they've built for their touch panels is conceptually based off of Epiphan Live that we have built into the Pearls.
Okay.
So that would make it super easy to control. It would be
Totally.
very cool. Flip side of that is we do have Epiphan Live if you wanted to use a tablet or a smartphone as a control surface, which can kind of be a hardware control. In
And of course,
addition
you'd
to
have to
that,
have it on the same Wi-Fi network.
yes,
And,
yes. In addition to that, there is a company we've talked about a long time ago, Scarhoy. They make hardware controllers. They also have integrated our HTTP API into their network-based controllers.
Well, these are the guys with the big
Yeah, so
light-up rubber
exactly,
buttons. It's
yeah.
very broadcast
Yeah,
style. Yeah.
Exactly. So it is possible to do it that way as well.
Cool.
So that's a couple things that can be done. Bernie was just saying Roland V1 HD works great plugged into my Webcaster. That's awesome. I'm trying to get my hands on one here because I want to play with it. I've been wanting to play with it for like a year. Anyway. Stefan's just saying it's a little bit more expensive. It is, but I think with anything, especially with switchers, it is going to be a little bit of a get what you pay for scenario, right? The Roland V1, in terms of a more traditional broadcast style, is inexpensive by comparison, but compared to the really kind of dummy switches, yes, it's expensive, but it also offers so much more. In terms of transitions, it's a scaler, it has the T-bar, it's got all these kind of things, and
Totally.
there's a lot that you can do with that.
Well, and we're getting to this point too where, and I'm kind of stealing this from another conversation that we've had, but we're getting to the point where live streaming's been around for a while, and we've kind of done the whole low-quality streaming thing and seeing where that engagement lies. But the more money that you're willing to invest into your production, the more engagement you'll get and the more views you'll get. So if you're putting money into these switchers, you should see a return on investment for those.
So Stefan was throwing in here probably one of the most popular questions I think I hear day to day, and I actually already answered this. What is the camera with the best price performance, clean HDMI that'll work with the Webcaster with changeable lenses? In my opinion, that would be if you can get a good price on a Panasonic G7.
Yeah.
Hands down. It's a super capable camera with interchangeable lenses. Technically was replaced by the G85, so it is possible to find it for good prices. Unlike a lot of cameras in that same price class, it has an analog audio input, which can be huge. clean audio, clean HDMI out with audio, progressive, not interlaced. It basically offers everything that you're looking for from a camera to use with a webcaster, aside from being free, essentially. So, yeah. Chris C. Hello. Any plans for scheduled recording features built into the Pearl 2? So this is a good one.
Can we talk about that?
Yeah, of course we can.
Okay.
Because we've done webinars about it, and we're having webinars coming up.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah. So, yes, little to no. Mostly yes. It won't be built into a calendar in the Pearl UI, but scheduling on a Pearl will be possible when integrated with Kaltura as a content management system. That is coming in a firmware update in January.
Yeah, it's in the new year, and it's something that we're gearing up for. I think we're doing some.
We're in the middle of QA.
Tests, right?
We're in the middle of QA testing right now. Matt did a demo for the guys at Kaltura yesterday, and they were blown away. They're super happy with the integration. We've demoed it for a few high-level education customers in Europe already. They're super excited about it. So that's coming. What it means is that Pearl will become an asset assignable within Kaltura, and it means it will automatically pull down the scheduling from Kaltura. You don't even have to touch the Pearl anymore.
Nope.
It just follows that schedule. That's it.
And it works great for those locked-off setups. You have a lecture hall, you have a boardroom, anywhere that you're giving presentations.
Exactly.
So that Pearl just sits in the back room. It could sit in the tech space. It could be locked up in a cabinet.
And when it finishes the recording, it pushes that file into Kaltura, and the full asset management capabilities of Kaltura take over, put it where it needs to be based on the schedule that was dictated.
Totally. And if you do have if you're going to start your event a little bit early, starting that event early, it will still send that
So
content up.
That's going to be a super powerful tool. Kaltura is very popular in the education sector. It is also very popular in the enterprise sector. So that's going to be a great addition to the Pearl 2. We do have other content management systems that we're going to be working on. Can't say a lot about those yet, but that'll be coming 2019. We'll see some other things in the works as well. So stay tuned for that. But there's at least 2 or 3 more we want to add in the next year. So
Yes, thank you, Chris. That was a great question.
people were posting links to the G7 if anyone's curious. I think it was actually here in Canada, Best Buy had a 2-lens bundle on the G7 I saw the other day.
Yeah?
I was so tempted, but I'd have to sell my old Nikon first, because my Nikon, it's an old 3200, and it's crap for video. So.
All right. Any other AMA questions on here?
Yeah.
These have been kind of vanilla so far. We've got we're not
a little too business, guys.
a little
Come
bit too
on.
business. Ask us anything. Anything. Like, what's your pant size?
I don't even think I know that.
I don't know. I have to, whenever I go to Costco to buy new jeans, I'm the guy that's like, I'm looking at the back, or I'll be like, hey, buddy, can you tell me what my pant size is?
You're one of those guys. All right.
I get these weird looks. And
Well, it changes for me, whether I'm leaving for a trade show or coming back from a trade show, because that's about 5 to 8 pounds difference. So
that's why you just got to stick with sweatpants.
yeah, the Eaton pants.
Yeah, the Eaton pants.
It's
That's
that
right.
that time of year. The Eaton pants have to come out.
Yeah, the meat sweats.
Yeah. So please,
Lisa's being very chatty on this
yeah,
episode.
exactly.
I love it.
Yeah. Throw your questions in there, guys. We'll go a little longer here, but I'm going to look back through and see if there was anything else.
What was this Behringer comment? Does that make
So
sense?
that's a mixer. That's a mixer.
Okay.
Ron, if it was a Behringer, I don't remember what model it was. I apologize. Behringer is definitely a very popular mixer brand. There may be certain models of theirs that do work over USB. I can't remember what it was. I'd have to go digging back through that. I don't have that Facebook stuff in front of me at the moment. Let me just see. It looks like Matt was trying to message me in the background, so I'm going to see if that was that. No, it's just memes. So how cold is it really, Ron? This morning when I left the house on the way to work, it was minus 14 Celsius here in Ottawa. I don't know what it is right now, but I can check on the handy little pocket computer. It is minus 9 Celsius currently outside.
Feels like minus 20. You get a little bit of wind chill in there.
The wind wasn't too
right?
bad today, actually. Yesterday was worse. The wind wasn't too bad today. Minus 9 is okay. It's not bad. When you hit minus 14, that's when you start to notice that it's actually kind of cold.
So to answer George's question from earlier, I don't know if he's like getting a shopping list ready or he's got his B&H card open.
I hope so.
But I would love to test / just have for the studio would be the Sony A7R Mark III.
Is that a new one?
That
Because
is
we
the
had a number of
latest.
customers that used the A7S2
Okay.
with webcasters, and they were super happy about it. But it's a pricey camera.
That's what
Here
I
in Canada,
shoot with
it's
the
like a
A7 II.
$1,400 camera. Like, it's not cheap.
It's pricey, but it is an
It's a-
amazing
yeah.
little camera.
But that's usually opposed from Panasonic. That's usually when you have to go to get that analog
Yeah.
audio. So Panasonic's about half that price. So, Chris C was saying 802 USB. Is that a Behringer model? Is that what we're talking about? Stefan, any plans for an Epiphan office in Europe? No. We have our partners there, and we have awesome representatives with our partnerships in Europe, and they represent us. So they can definitely help you with almost anything. But yeah, that would change a lot of things. That when you incorporate a business where you are, rules change depending on things, and Europe is a whole other ballgame from North America. So it's not that easy.
So we have a question from George Birchall, who we saw earlier on the episode, crossing in front of the frame, kind of amateurish.
What was the support question?
So
that
yeah,
makes me
what was
crazy?
the?
There's a lot of those
Can you
daily.
What's your top one?
That's a tough one. People often ask, like, what's the number one question that drives you crazy from a support perspective? Some of them that should be obvious by this point, I think. Like, for example, does AVIO support HDMI audio, AVIO HD? And I do understand people's confusion because it physically has a DVI port on it. But we've done shows about it. We have blog posts about it. It's just digital data, man. It doesn't matter what the connector is. It's just digital data.
Can we get a shirt that says that for you?
Digital,
It's
man.
just digital data, man.
But if as long as you're looking for the right data, it doesn't matter what the connector is really that much.
I would
So,
say any question
yes,
that you can
absolutely it
refer
does.
to YouTube to find the answer for.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a saying in the support world, RTFM. I won't
And-
explain what that stands for. But
And to be
hopefully
fair,
everyone knows.
we're kind of poking fun at George, but George
And I'm
does,
poking fun at our
yeah,
customers.
yeah, George does provide support over the phone, online, does an amazing job of it. Having experience with customer service before, it is very challenging, especially when you're answering the same questions over and over again.
But that's what Scotch is for.
Speak of the devil,
This is beer, root beer.
Scotch has bite.
Yeah, Scotch has bite. It does. Other people are throwing some other mixers in here by the looks of it. Yamaha MG series mixers. I don't think we've ever had a Yamaha in-house.
We didn't we use a Yamaha for the prime rib shoot the other night? I think that was the mixer that
Was
Mike
that
brought
our
in.
mixer? But that might have been his mixer.
Yeah, it was his. He brought that one in.
Yeah, okay.
And it was a great little unit. It worked well. We actually had amazing audio from that recording.
But
we
that
went
was
into
all
the wild.
analog. That wasn't USB.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
So if Mike has that, we'll have to experiment with that. We'll have to beg and borrow to play with that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was. He just brought it in.
yeah.
So where is Ron located? Do we know where
he's,
Ron is?
I'm going to go with the U.S. since he's talking about Fahrenheit. No one else uses it, so.
24F. What is that?
24 Fahrenheit. What is that in Celsius? It's below freezing, but it's about 10 degrees below freezing.
Is it?
Um,
Come on, Google.
Any plans to demo our products in Hawaii? You know what?
Yes. Let's do
I
that.
would happily go to Hawaii at this time of year to give you a personal demo. All I request is a plane ticket and a hotel.
And where was that from? So Kamahama
Schools.
Kamahama
So
schools.
tell us more about what you do. Are you the school district or part of a school district in Hawaii?
Yeah.
I don't think we have any partners in Hawaii. Most of them are continental U.S. But get in touch with our sales team. Send us an email to info@epiphan.com. And myself, the other guys, will see what we can do to get you in touch with our sales team to try and get you some demos through somebody, one way or another. See what we can do. We do a lot of online demos. We set up private teleconferencing demos where we can show you walkthroughs and guides of the products. So
I think that we should do a live show from Hawaii.
We should.
And do some testing on the Maui sand. Because, you know, you go to Maui and you go to the beach and you get that sand everywhere.
Yeah, Matt needs to keep it down. My volunteers tribute for Hawaii. I don't think so. Oh, now George isn't. See what you've started, guys? Come on.
Well, that's good if George is doing it because he has to sign off on the expense reports. So,
yeah.
so
Alan Herbert just chiming in there with the Best Buy link. I was mentioning the G7 deal, so he put a link to that. Stefan, what was the most surprising question I got in support? That's a tough one. I'm not sure.
Was there anything? There was one when we had the we did our we did a software update on the Pearl, and there was something that was missed during something that was overlooked during QA. I think it came in as a question.
I don't remember
on the customer support line.
I don't.
But
remember
anything else that maybe rings a bell? If it was something that
we
hadn't considered or tested. And the QA team does a great job. They cover
every
a lot
day
of
people
angles.
ask questions that we maybe didn't consider, mostly because there's so many different possibilities out there. And there's so many different ways you can use our products and even competitors' products that we get a lot of interesting questions. Ron's in the Boston area. I see that there. So the most surprising question...
You haven't gotten like a "what are you wearing today" question?
Well, troll questions, I don't consider those. But do we get trolls? Absolutely. We get trolled on live chat every day. They are quickly banned and never to be seen again.
And how do you access this live chat? Is that the one that's on
You
our
will
website?
be banned. Steve is just saying, maybe off topic, but any recommendations for fluid head tripod that extends over 6 feet high? And I saw you were looking into this.
Mm-hmm.
I often shoot over crowds. This is AMA. Nothing is off topic. I don't know tripods. What do you think?
Well, I switched over from Manfrotto into the Benro category because they make a really great product that's not very expensive, and they have different options for actually using the ball head. So you can put whatever ball head you want, with whatever controller on the top. And there are some of the Benro models that do go over 6 feet.
Was that the one we were using for that shoot
Yeah.
a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, that's
that
the one
thing
we're
is
using.
big.
Yeah, it's big and it's solid and
light.
it's super light. It's very light.
It's carbon?
No, aluminum.
Okay.
That one's aluminum, but there is a carbon fiber model that's even lighter than that one.
Yeah, big
but
money.
yeah, you have to be very careful. You don't want to break it. One of the things that I've done in the past is using a gimbal. So using a Zhiyun on the top of a monopod. So if you want to shoot in a crowd situation, and even like, you know, you could have your static locked off shot on the tripod, or you could put that gimbal on the top of a monopod, and then keep your horizon setting on there.
Okay.
And then you could just lift that monopod right up, and you get some really cool crane shots. You can bring it around.
You can always just get a crane.
You could get a crane. You've got the budget for a crane.
Gregory is saying, shotgun mic, that sounds dangerous name. I guess a good sport. I'm not... Clarify the question, please, Gregory. But if you're asking for cool shotgun mic names, there was a company next to us at IBC in Europe called Deity, and they had some cool shotgun mics that I thought were super, super interesting. Ron's chiming in here with a Behringer model. Do you want to try and pull this up? Built for streamers. So I'm curious. I'm assuming that means it's going to be have a good USB out, because that's usually what streamers are doing, especially if we're talking about Twitch. They're up running everything through PC typically, and so they want everything to be USB. So that might be an interesting one.
And I think Chandler might have been making a crossover between Behringer being a gun
I see.
and the name of this the audio company. So this is the Behringer, and I do apologize, we're not doing a laptop feed
Okay,
today.
that one looks super cool,
But
actually.
yeah, this is a nice tight little unit. So one XLR, and then we've got a few.
Right. So the only
left and right
downside
for
is
the
that it
1/4
doesn't
inch.
have a lot of XLR, but if all you need is 1/4 inch, that looks like it would probably be a very awesome little box.
Oh, that's a power input on the back, and then there's the USB,
USB,
output on the back there.
So yeah, Ron, that looks like a very cool one.
If this has a 1/4 inch, like a mount on the bottom,
that's cheap.
that would be really
Buy
cool.
now. Let's
Yeah, throw it in the cart.
buy now.
Like $90 plus
$90
shipping.
Canadian is pennies.
Oh, here we go. And there's actual. We were looking at the 5 input. There's 5, 8,
okay.
and the 12 has 4 XLR inputs on it.
So that would be a good one for that kind of money. That would be a good one to test.
And look at this.
see.
That's actually really reasonable. $150 for the 12 input model.
We'll ask Matt's opinion. He'll probably say it's crap, but
That's almost $10 per input.
not bad.
Yeah,
so
Matt
a
hates
few
it.
other thing. Then Marco was just chiming in with some suggestions for some other switch mixers for Stefan. So some good chat going back and forth there, guys. Any other questions for us? We'd be happy to look at that. I saw earlier our friends in Hawaii say it's 72 degrees, which is, that lovely low 20s Celsius. In other words, perfect.
Thanks for sharing.
Perfect shorts and t-shirt weather.
Yeah, but they have like snakes and bugs. And,
It's not Australia.
oh yeah.
Sorry, Andrew.
Literally everything can kill you.
Zoran, that's a good question.
So this is the Lumitech.
Okay.
It looks like a video
Oh,
switcher.
that one looks cool.
Mm-hmm.
Zoran has a good question here. Adding HDCP enable, disable, and Perl inputs. Well, enable is not ever going to be possible. By the nature of what Perl does for recording and streaming, it would never be granted a license to decode HDCP because its entire purpose is to duplicate video, which is a violation of the copyright agreements. So it would never be compliant to have an enable, disable. Unfortunately, I mean, that's just the nature of capture devices, sadly. And for a good reason. It's something that poses a lot of liability for people involved. Sure, we can all admit that we personally would not use it for copyright, but someone would.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, one bad apple ruins a whole bunch, right? So, unfortunately. Chris, at what temperature do you stop cycling to work?
See, these are good AMA questions. That is a
that's
legit
good.
AMA
Well,
question.
I don't cycle to work. I motorcycle to work, and I stop at 4 degrees Celsius because after that, the wind chill is just too damn cold.
Well, and you run into, you could hit black ice, you could have...
It gets sketchy. And too much, once it gets down to these temperatures, too much salt on the road. It just destroys everything here in Ottawa. But you're from Alberta, so you're not used to the salt on the roads.
We use a pickle salt in Alberta,
this stuff-
so it's salt and gravel,
Yeah, this
which in
is-
the corners on the bike is brutal. And oftentimes in Alberta, you have to wait pretty far into the spring
For it to be
because
clean.
because they don't clean up the gravel until
we
the
don't
summer.
really here either. We need a couple of rains, and it's good. Zoran's follow-up there, issues with Macs and HDCP. Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, that's something you got to go yell at Tim Cook about. I have no idea why Apple decided on newer models to essentially enable HDCP all the time. It's stupid. It's unnecessary. It's very frustrating. The same argument I make with Samsung and their phones. They do the same thing with Android phones, with Samsung devices. Not all companies do.
Well, and it killed us for using the Mac as a screen share.
Yeah, older models are not an issue. It's only
Yes,
the newer
it's
ones.
the newer ones, yeah.
I'm pretty sure if it has a touch panel, a touch bar, you're in trouble, kind of thing.
Well, and even with the Pearl Mini the other day, we were shooting that Kaltura promo,
Yeah.
and we couldn't actually get video from the Mac onto the Pearl Mini just for the purpose of having like a fake display on
there. It used
there.
to be much more context aware, and at some point they changed that, and that's just ridiculous. There's no reason that on a laptop HDCP can't be completely context aware and only on when necessary.
Yeah.
Admittedly, Windows is really bad at it and basically barely ever turns it on. So
Use that to your benefit.
yeah, I won't go farther. But Chris saying, yeah, salt, motorcycles, yeah, cycling. There are people in this area that will cycle in the middle of a blizzard when it's minus 40 outside.
These guys are hardcore.
I think they are idiots. So
I passed by a guy who was wearing his Sorel boots
Yeah.
riding his bicycle. Intense.
So, and then not to bring up a bad subject, but it was only a few days ago here in Ottawa, a cyclist was killed on a major road because
By a
of
taxi
conditions.
cab.
Because
Yeah.
of conditions. I mean, that's a reality when you live in a northern climate, and it's very sad that someone lost their life, and we all feel for them and their family. But that's a risk you take, right?
Yeah.
And that's
And
why
Ottawa does have an amazing network of
paths,
bicycle lanes,
but they're
and
not
paths.
plowed in the winter.
Oh, that's what you said.
They're
Yeah.
snowed over, so
then
you
you're
can't-
forced onto
can't
the
really use
road.
them. Zorn is following up here. Install Windows on a Mac and it's disabled. Yeah, no, absolutely. That is the ultimate solution. Really, is to buy a Mac and install Windows on it. It solves all kinds of problems. Someone's
Lisa
mentioning here
is shaking her head.
motorcycles and sidecars. Actually, there's a friend of ours, a friend of Matt's, and a guy I'm kind of an acquaintance with here in Ottawa. We were telling you the other day.
you were telling me about this
who rides a year-old motorcycle with a sidecar year-round here in Ottawa. And
So cool.
one of the reasons he's even more interesting is this gentleman is in a wheelchair, and he gets on the motorcycle, folds his wheelchair, throws it in the sidecar, and tours around.
Yeah.
He is awesome. He's everywhere in the summer and
Very cool.
Very chill dude. We have a lot of these social motorcycle hangouts in Ottawa in the summer, usually one a month. He's always there, super cool to talk to. He's always the first one there. He's very cool. We'll have to invite you sometime.
That'd be fun. I'd like to get a bike when we get all transitioned over.
There you go.
Another question from Zoran. How about adding USB status, copying finished on Pearl? Great suggestion.
Yeah, so we've looked at that in a couple of different ways, and it kind of exists now if you're doing it through AFU, the automatic file upload system. You can view the AFU queue on the front screen of a Pearl. That can help. If you're doing just the blind move copy, then it's a bit different. I see you're saying as an API status. Yeah, there's a number of things we're looking at to enhance the API in the future, probably going from the existing API to a full REST API. That's still a little ways out from development perspective, but those are exactly the kind of things that will be much, much easier to do in a REST API than under the current system. So those are all the things that are on the horizon that we're kind of looking at.
So we have another question from our friends down in Hawaii. Mm-hmm. That was actually something that we were addressing the other day when we were shooting that live concert. So that was any recommendations for audio compressors to maintain consistent audio levels?
Yes. Recommendations for specific models? Matt would be the better guy to answer that, but yes.
In short, yes.
In short.
And actually keep an eye out on the chat. We will address your question later and shoot you a message.
Yeah. So I think we're
coming up on an hour.
Zoran, you wanted
we're over an hour.
The
45.
we want as part of the Crestron integration. Okay. Yeah, so Zoran, because Crestron is building the module, I can't speak to what they're working on. If we transition to the REST API, that Crestron module would probably have to change. So, yeah, time will tell. But I could say because it doesn't currently exist in the API, the module they're building is based on the API. It wouldn't really be possible at the moment. Yeah. So I think we're going to wrap it up at this point.
Sorry to hear that, Linda.
Yeah.
She had a little skid out on her bike.
Yeah, that happens.
I did that once in a parking lot. I came in, and it was like a very polished surface on the concrete. And I came in, it was wet out.
Yeah,
right turn, just sided right out on the bike. And it's embarrassing because, you're going like 4 kilometers an hour.
Chris, crack open some whiskey, keep it going. Maybe next week when we're closer to Christmas.
Exactly. Get some Baileys going.
No,
just whiskey.
Yeah, we'll bring in some nice scotch. So Matt was just throwing in there in chat. Make a post in our forums, which you can find through our website, about the compressor, and he will be happy to engage with you there and throw some possibilities in there. It'll be much easier in that format than through chat. So we're going to wrap it up here, guys. This is the longest episode ever, I think. Maybe not longest ever. When we were at George's house torturing some AVIO devices was pretty long.
Oh, that was a fun episode.
One of our best episodes. Yeah. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you for your questions.
Thank you again for joining us.
Zoran, I see that there. Any questions about live doing closed captioning on a Pearl?
Ooh.
If it's embedded as part of the signal, no problem. But adding it dynamically, there are ways of doing it. Send us an email, and I can better answer that. It's a kind of a long answer.
Cool.
info@epiphan.com for those questions.
Thank you again for watching.
Yeah.
Don't forget to like and follow. And one more reminder, today is we have that sale going with Switchboard.
Yes, Switchboard
So check
Live.
out their 12 Days of Christmas.
Those links are on their Facebook page. I'm
That's
sure
right.
we've shared it on ours. Their links are also farther back in the chat.
Yeah.
But Switchboard Live, facebook.com/Switchboard Live. You can find all that. And Chris here in Scotland. Right on, mate. That's awesome.
Ta-ta, Chris.
Yeah. So you're all about that Scotch comments from earlier. Perfect.
They have good peat. Good
to go
peat
back
in
to
Scotland.
Scotland or Hawaii, that's a toss-up for me. Weather's
not
better
both?
in Hawaii, but Scotland. I love Scotland.
I've never been.
I love Scotland.
Did you do the Blarney Stone thing, or is that
That's in Ireland.
That's in Ireland.
Ireland. No, I was there a couple of years ago with my family. It was awesome.
I watched that new Netflix movie. That was really good. Rebel King?
Rebel King?
Yeah.
Was it good?
Yeah, it was based on a Scottish guy.
Yeah. We're just chatting here now, and no one's fading us out or anything like that. It's fine. It's fine. Thanks, everyone. We will see you next. What's our topic next week?
Next week is going to be about USB buses.
Boring.
And why, and why should you care? Because George doesn't.
Actually, this is a super interesting one, and kind of ties into some of the things people have been discussing about common questions we get from support. USB buses is sometimes the anchor to a lot of these things.
Man,
so
I've learned that one the hard way.
That's
look at all these ports on here, but nope.
It's a deeper technical one, but hopefully one you guys find super interesting. And then, of course, we'll be rolling into Christmas after that. We might have some surprises for that week, for Christmas week. Surprises. All right.
Thanks, George.
That's it. Thanks, Cameron.
Of course.
Thanks,
It
everyone.
was great hanging out.
See you later.
Ta-ta.